Let's see if we can actually get out of the driveway on full self-drive. Nope. It's gonna... Oh, that's actually waiting for a car. We'll allow that. And now it's stuck again. Yeah, it definitely seems to back up better than going forward out of the driveway. Although in both cases it's getting hung up when it gets out onto the street. It does that at least 75% of the time. Very true. Although it's going to be a bittersweet weekend. I got my calendar reminder that it's Bridget's birthday on Sunday. do find that using hurry mode makes way too many lane changes, which are completely unnecessary and sometimes cause more of a delay. For example, when needing to exit off the highway, usually it will put the turn signal on and get over to the exit lane about 0.6 to 0.5 miles from the exit. Hurry mode, sometimes it will try to bypass slower traffic in the exit lane when there's less than a mile to go, and maybe 25% of the time I have to intervene to put it back in the right lane. Otherwise, it risks not being able to merge and overshooting the exit, which then only adds time to reroute.
Anything that would draw MAGA's ire, like any line they drew in the sand, they would throw him a parade for crossing it. There's no bridge too far for them to coal roll right over. He's blasting Lee Greenwood and calling people on bicycles gay, just loving being lied to, baby. Trump himself acknowledged this back in 2016. He famously said he could shoot a man on Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote, and his supporters famously responded, "Shoot a man, do you promise? What kind of man? Muslim, trans? Can we pick? Will you let us pick?" And now for almost a decade now, he has seemed 100% right. But now, maybe, after all those scandals and impeachments and felonies and coups, maybe finally he has found a pill that MAGA will not swallow. And boy, is he upset about it, too. Trump went on Truth Social after all the backlash, just like, "Look, guys, you know how this works. I tell you what to think, and you think it. Right? I specifically requested you not care about this, but you just won't leave it alone." Why? Well, just because it's brazenly hypocritical and clearly false nonsense that's insulting to anyone with even an average amount of intelligence. Yeah, is that so what? That's 90% of the shit I say to you guys. You never cared before, right? But Trump should have realized that this is different. This is the thing for these people. This is their holy grail, the linchpin. This is the smoking gun that would show the whole world, including their queer-ass book-loving cousins, once and for all, that they were right about everything. The Democrats were evil, truly evil, and they had been running and ruining the world from the shadows for far too long, but no longer no, because Donald Trump would shine the incandescent light of justice on their dark deeds and righteously restore law and order to the Christian world. He promised them. He promised. And so this betrayal's just too much. Even for them, it's too much. Now, not all of them, obviously. Some of the bestest little lapdogs in MAGA media have gotten back in line and are spinning this for daddy, and I'm sure some of their listeners are buying it, but a huge chunk of MAGA, though, ain't having it. And to them, I say, keep it up. Right? Don't believe them when they tell you it's part of some master plan. It ain't. Don't let them distract you when they're like, "Hey, guys, hey, there's a teenage girl with broad shoulders who won a JV swim meet in Nebraska. Let's all bully her until she cries on TV. Doesn't that sound fun?" Yeah, or hey guys, we're We're going to have gladiator fights between Mexicans and alligators at our swamp camp in Florida and put it on pay-per-view. Isn't that awesome? Do you like that? Don't fall for it. Hold the line. Stick to your guns. Y'all love guns. Stick to them. Because you're right about this being a big deal, and so is Trump's reaction to you saying that, all right? Because it's indicative of maybe the biggest problem we have in our society. The rich and powerful operate with impunity, and they know it, and you have no right to question that. Yeah, well, I think all of us peasants on both sides can agree that that is some bullshit that we cannot and will not accept anymore. It's actually kind of nice to agree for once. I think we should really do this more often. Okay, all right. Listen, you two, let me tell you back with more in a second. But you know, the media in this country is always schizophrenic about anything political. You never know how it's going to be presented depending on where you're getting it from. And this Vantage plan and gets all the features, or you can check Ground News out completely for free. That's right. Either way, the time is now. Push back on the bias and BS. Try Ground News today. All right, YouTube, and we're back. I finally took a breath there. Shoo, wait, what a wild ass time we live in. But you know, at least you can see some cracks forming in the facade that is MAGA. Now, who knows? You know, they might have it all bricked up, mortared up with lunacy and bullshit in no time. I wouldn't put it past them. They are pretty good at that. In fact, they've already got some of their top dogs, some of the noted thought leaders on the right working on that very task, trying to spin the narrative. I mentioned that in the up top rant, but noted philosophical intellectuals like Alex Jones and Cat Turd, like top men, top thinkers, working on it, doing their best. And I'll tell you what, some of the mental gymnastics they're employing to rationalize this to themselves is truly impressive, even for these people. Like long-time government hater Charlie Kirk said unironically on his show the other day, I've decided I'm just going to not talk about Epstein anymore because I've searched my heart and determined the best thing for me to do is to trust the government, trust my friends in government, and know that our government will handle this in the most competent and an effective way and beneficial way, in fact, for all of us. We can trust them to do that. It's like, how do you say that to that particular audience with a straight face? Even worse than that, Tim Pool went on Twitter. It was like, of course the Democrats would want the Epstein files released. You know why? Because it's a bunch of child porn and they're just sicko pedophiles. That's right, I said it. And, you know, his listeners had been, wait, am I a sicko pedophile? I was like, what? No, why are you saying that? Because I want it to be. Haven't we been saying we want that same stuff to be released for a long time? I don't feel like I'm a sicko pedophile, but we want that, right? Like, no, you don't want that. Sicko pedophiles want that. But I do want that. I was like, no, you don't. Why are you waving your hand? Are you doing like a Jedi? You think you're like a bald Jedi? I'm not. But I do want that. Why, you know, just gaslighting people straight to the face. Alex Jones made one of his little car videos where he was just like, he said that he was just like, I think I'm gonna throw up. I've only thrown up a few times, but I'm stuck. You know, my golden insides are so pure with righteousness that any kind of injustice like this makes me actually sick to my stomach. And he like disappears while he comes back, and he's like, okay, well, I threw up, and after reading the tea leaves of my vomit on the ground, I realized that this is all part of a big plan. We have to trust the President Trump. He's got a master plan, and he will. I'm sorry, I didn't have an impression rating that's fading. But basically, after he threw up and thought about it, not in that order, he realized that obviously Trump had a master plan, and everybody should just trust it. And what else? Probably the most insane one that I've seen anybody saying, and these are not from actual thought leaders. It's just from rank and file MAGA people who have been all over Twitter in the replies saying, like, listen, I think it's pretty clear at this point that our president was involved in this, and so maybe he does, you know, a little bit of diddling here and there, and that's unfortunate. But I've thought about it. I've consulted my pastor and the Bible. I've prayed about it deeply, and I've determined that he's still a great man. He's still the best president this country has ever had. Sure, he might be a pedophile, sex pest, predator, but that doesn't undo all the great things he's done for good Christian Americans. And as fellow Christians, it's up to us to find it in our heart to forgive him. And it's like, buddy, I didn't know you could walk a tightrope that tightly. My God, I don't know how these people do it. But at least so far, it seems to be, at least, I don't know if it's 50-50, but there's at least a sizable chunk of people who ain't doing that yet, who are actually having some sense for the first time in living memory for me on this particular subject, and I'll take it. Now, I mean, to be fair, Trump and the way they've handled it has made it pretty hard to not have sense about the whole thing. They've made it as hard on themselves as possible. They can always make things worse. It's one thing they excel at, but it's like they campaigned on putting the Epstein files out. They said it to everybody. They made it part of their whole deal, and then, like, it's like, what you could have just said was nothing, right? Like, you knew you weren't going to do it. You You could have just not said you were, and then none of this would be happening. Trump, Pam Bondi, any of y'all, and then Trump, the way he's happened since this has all started, he's like, what? So the Clinton and the Clintons and the Obamas, they put me in there to frame me for this. It's like, okay, so you're acknowledging you are in there. No, I'm not in there. I'm just saying if I'm not in there, but if I am, it's through blackmail from the Clintons and the Obamas. It's like, okay, so if they did that explicitly to frame you and that was their whole plan, why did their homeboy Joe Biden, Joey B, not release them when he was in office if that was the whole plan? It's like, no, well, I'm not even in there. They're not even real. By the way, they're not real. I'm not in them and they're not real, but if I am in them and it is real, it's only because of blackmail that they did, but that's not the case because they're not real and they don't exist anyway. So I hope that clears it up for everybody. And it's like, ain't no wonder that even some of the dumbest people in this country are calling bullshit on this. It's hard not to. But anyway, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not like optimistic in the long term that they're going to come around to their senses, but it's at least to see some semblance of rationality coming from the other side. That's about the best thing I can say about it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I put this little things up here. This is my comedy special, Trash Dad. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's fun. It's a good time. And then down here, you can subscribe to the channel, see all these